We've all heard this story. A young man shoots an archduke in Sarajevo and suddenly the world is at war. But what if I told you that World War I was coming? With or without that assassination? Today, we are breaking down the real causes of the war, and trust me, it's more complicated than many people think. Chapter 1. Paranoia. After the unification of Germany, a new power was born in the middle of Europe. The German Empire was rapidly industrializing, while this made the British feel paranoid. During the late 19th century, the British Empire was the unquestionable global hegemon. To understand better, we have to describe the world politics at the time. Let's start with France. The bitter loser of 1870-71 Franco-Prussian War, where they had to pay reparations and lost the territory of Alsace-Lorraine. In addition to material losses, the French pride was damaged during the war. As of 1914, France had a strong relationship with Russia and Britain, somewhat positive relations with Serbia, Austria's bitter enemy, skeptical towards the Italians. Belgium was a neutral country and Spain was too weak to possess any kind of danger. The only problem was the German Empire. Russians had a similar view on the Germans. However, Russia was not as industrialized as any of Western European powers, but could compensate that fact with abundance of resources and manpower. Russia had a dream of subjugating the Balkans and shattering the Ottoman Empire. In this matter, Austrians wanted to block Russia's advance to have some influence in the Balkans. On the other side, Russia was involved in the Great Game, which was a political rivalry between her and the British Empire over the control of Central Asia, Iran, and Afghanistan. The British Empire had a relatively neutral stance towards the Germans because of rivalry with Russia. Generally, a more stable world was very beneficial for the British. They had an access to manpower and resources while had solid diplomatic ties with multiple allies all over the world. For example, Britain was supporting Japanese expansion and modernization efforts against Russia. Japanese managed to beat the Russians back in 1904-05 Russo-Japanese War, dealing a great damage. Britain also had plans against the Ottoman Empire, but they probably didn't need a global conflict to split the Middle East among the great powers. Security of the Suez Canal and Egypt in general was enough for Britain. Britain's paranoia was related to Germany. Germany opened the Kiel Canal and started expanding its high seas fleet, while simultaneously increasing the production capacity. Steel and coal production is a significant indicator in this matter. Germany was producing more than twice the amount the British was producing. Both countries took advantage of having coal mines in their core territories and was outproducing anyone else except USA. For comparison, Russia and France produced 36 and 40,000 tons respectively, while Germany and Britain produced 280 and 290,000 tons respectively. Germany was the most paranoid great power. The main reason was being stuck in between Russia and France. Otto von Bismarck tried to avoid a two-front war by aligning Russia and Austria, but the problems between the other two was too great to ignore. Eventually, this alliance was not renewed by Kaiser Wilhelm II. Main German plan was to isolate France in the diplomatic arena, as they know France will try to gain her land and pride back one day. Over time, the relations with Russia was weakened, mainly due to French influence in Russia. The French was actively supporting industrial and infrastructural modernization efforts of Russia via financial help. French loans enabled Russia to be able to mobilize its army much more quickly. Germany also was interested in the Balkans. Romania, Bulgaria, Greece was supposed to be kept neutral, or if possible included in the Central Powers. Italy was an essential part of German diplomatic structure, and two countries were cooperating since the Brothers' War. Austria was an unstable, multinational dual monarchy. Its official name was Austria-Hungarian Empire, meaning around half of the soldiers were Germans or Hungarians, and another half consisted of Czechs, Serbs, Croats, Poles, Ruthenians, Romanians, and Italians. After the Balkan Wars, Serbia almost doubled its territory and managed to pacify Bulgarians. Serbia also managed to field 450,000 men before the war, which made it a tough nut to crack. Serbia was aiming to dismantle the Austrian Empire and unify Balkan allies under one flag. On the other hand, Romania wanted to integrate Transylvania. Italy wanted land compromises in Dalmatia and Tyrol, while Russia wanted to push her borders to Carpathian Mountains and integrate those territories into her client state, the Kingdom of Poland. Chapter 2: Crises. There have been many situations where the great powers of Europe threatened each other with war to achieve their goals. We will go through 4 instances. Moroccan crisis, or the Tangier crisis, first started in 1905 when the German Kaiser visited Tangier and declared his support for Moroccan independence from French influence. Later, in 1911, Germany sent a warship to the port of Agadir as a response to the French occupation of the city of Fez. This created a bigger crisis, which was resolved when France compensated Germany in Congo. Even though resolved, this crisis increased the tension and worsened the trust among German and British-French decision-makers. Another crisis was Bosnian annexation in 1908. Austro-Hungarian Empire was keeping Bosnia under occupation since Budapest Convention of 1877. In agreement with Russia, Austria was supposed to keep the region under control, but the territory belonged to the Ottoman Empire. In 1908, Austria decided to annex the lands under military control and compensate Ottomans with financial means. Italy demanded territorial compensation in exchange for recognition of annexation, but this did not happen. This was one of the reasons for Italy to break its alliance with Austria and Germany. Only Serbia and Russia was outraged by the annexation and demanded it to be reversed. Serbia was compensated with occupation of the Sanjak of Novi Pazar, and Russia was forced back by Germany with a threat of war. In 1912, Serbia, Greece, Bulgaria, and Montenegro, forming the Balkan League against the Ottoman Empire, declared war and occupied most of the Turkish possessions in the peninsula. After the First Balkan War, the victors, especially Bulgaria and Serbia, was discontent with the territorial expansion, and specifically wanted more territories in Macedonia. This resulted in armed conflict where all the neighbors attacked Bulgaria. And the latest crisis was the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, the Austrian Archduke. This happened in Sarajevo, Bosnia. Austria believed this was a deliberate Serbian action against Austria. Austrian Chief of General Staff Franz Conrad intensively pushed for war against Serbia, believing this is a now or never situation. A preventive, short war was to save Austrian Empire from collapsing under Slavic nationalism, according to Conrad. However, the Austrian army was ill prepared for such campaign. Eventually, Germany was going to support Austria in this moment, causing Russia's response. At this moment, there was no turning back. Being third cousins, Wilhelm II and Nicholas II were sending telegrams and letters to each other in the beginning of the World War I. This is called Willy-Niki correspondence, where Nicholas pleads to Wilhelm to try to stop the military preparations in order to avoid a bigger conflict. I foresee that very soon I shall be overwhelmed by the pressure forced upon me, and be forced to take extreme measures, which will lead to war. To try and avoid such calamity as a European war, I beg you in the name of our old friendship, to do what you can to stop your allies from going too far. Nikki. Immediate, affirmative, clear and unmistakable answer from your government is the only way to avoid endless misery. Until I have received this answer, alas, I am unable to discuss the subject of your telegram. As a matter of fact, I must request you to immediately order your troops on no account to commit the slightest acts of trespassing over our frontiers. Willie. Thanks for your telegram, conciliatory and friendly. Whereas official message presented today by your ambassador to my minister was conveyed in a very different tone. Beg you to explain this divergency. It would be right to give over the Austro-Serbian problem to the Hague Conference. Trust in your wisdom and friendship. Your loving, Nikki. The pressure was immense and irresistible. On July 30th, Germany sent an ultimatum to Russia, demanding cease of all military preparations. On 1st of August, Germany declares war on Russia, sparking the deadliest conflict in Europe.